This is the Eco Village Master Plan project of Almere in the Netherlands. We are Group 7. My name is Molly, and we have Kyle, Everett, Logan, Thomas, Jackson, and Juli in this group. We are a combination of geological, industrial, and civil engineering. To give the presentation outline, we're first going to start with going over what eco-villages are. We'll then get into the Almere eco-village specifically, discuss the problems and issues that the eco-village faces, the scope of the work being done, some project limitations, and then we'll go into the environmental stewardship, comparison to existing eco-villages, go over the waste to energy, do an engineering analysis, and then go over uncertainties of the implementation. So first, what are eco-villages? There are currently over 400 eco-villages in the world. On the right side of this slide, you can see 2 images taken of the Almere village thanks to Jim Park. There are environment, economic, and social life that are the 3 aspects of sustainability that enable eco-villages to remain self-sufficient. Below are the requirements to be considered an eco-village. There are no vehicles to be used or stored in the village. Fossil fuels for cars, refrigeration, heating and cooling of homes, as well as domestic heating, are not allowed. All gardening must be organic. All power must come from renewable sources. There's no lumber from outside the local area allowed unless it's recycled or salvaged. Organic waste and recyclable materials are to be reincorporated into usable products through composting methods. Here's an outline of the Almere eco-village in regards to Amsterdam and other locations of the Netherlands. It's located in the Oosterwolde district of Almere. The Regen Village's first pilot community is the Almere Village, and plans for other projects are located in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, the US, and Asia. The plan is to break ground in Q4 in 2018. We will now insert a video of an actual eco-village and the progress it has made.
So there are various problems that arise regarding the Almere eco-village. The first is regarding funding. Each home costs anywhere from $233,000 to $900,000, which is too expensive for the average person to take part in. There are also problems regarding space. There are only 60 acres for 200 homes, which gives less than 1/3 of an acre per home. There are food and water shortages as well, as the food and water relies on precipitation, and the Almere eco-village is off the grid, so it may have trouble receiving outside support if they don't receive enough precipitation for the food. The most important issue for this project is the waste generation and management, as waste must be disposed of and processed within the village. Based on these identified issues, we have the following project objective: to design a self-sustaining community model with minimal environmental impact. There are various features to this objective, including identifying renewable energy systems to generate electricity for the village, planning locations for farmland and gardens for growing food, rainwater collection system for drinking water, bathing, and irrigation, designing roadways and paths to accommodate biking and walking, and again, most importantly, designing systems to reuse, repurpose, and treat waste. So there are various potential limitations with this project. The first is designing around and preparing for possible flood scenarios, as the proposed site location lies 7 meters below sea level. Government approval must also be obtained to initiate the construction of the village, and funding must also be obtained for this construction. Also, space available for construction and possible planning for future expansion must be considered, as the population of this area may double within 15 years. Enough space must also be left available for farming and raising animals to feed the population. There also must be some system of site drainage, and there will be potential difficulties with traveling to nearby cities for emergencies. And enough electricity must also be produced to meet the needs of the village.
The defining principles of the Almere community are as follows. The first is to cultivate diversity. To enrich the city, we acknowledge diversity as a defining characteristic of robust ecological, social, and economical systems. By praising and stimulating diversity in all areas, we can ensure Almere will continue to grow and thrive as a city rich in variety. The second is connect place and context. To connect the city, we will strengthen and enhance her identity. Based on its own strength and mutual benefit, the city will maintain active relationships with its surrounding communities at large. Third is to combine city and nature. To give meaning to the city, we will consciously aim to bring about unique and lasting combinations of the urban and natural fabric and raise awareness of human interconnectedness with nature. The fourth is to anticipate change. To honor the evolution of the city, we will incorporate generous flexibility and adaptability in our plans and programs. The fifth is to continue innovation. To advance the city, we will encourage improved processes, technologies, and infrastructures, and we will support experimentation and the exchange of knowledge. Sixth is the design of healthy systems. To sustain the city, we will utilize cradle-to-cradle solutions, recognizing the interdependence at all scales of ecological, social, and economic health. And finally, 7 is to empower people to make the city. Acknowledging citizens to be a driving force in creating, keeping, and sustaining the city, we facilitate possibilities of them to pursue their unique potential with spirit and dignity. Next, we're going to talk about the importance of stewardship in Almere. First is about the site and achieving symbiosis. A healthy built environment encourages supportive, diverse, and sustainable relationships between natural and human communities. Next is maintaining a water balance. A healthy built environment provides optimal water performance and discharge water that is clean as or cleaner than water entering the site. Next is to become a clean energy producer. A healthy built environment utilizes clean renewable energy in many forms, such as solar, wind, geothermal, gravitational energy, and other energy systems being developed today in quantities that meet or exceed its needs. Next, everything is a resource for something else. A healthy built environment is constructed of products and uses processes and ensures materials can be returned safely to soil as nutrition or to industry for reuse at the same or higher level of quality. Next is environmental quality and to create healthy spaces. A healthy built environment actively supports the well-being of its occupants.
Next, we're going to go over a comparison to existing eco-villages. So the Almere Eco-Village is more advanced than most eco-villages that currently exist. As we said, there are over 400 that exist in the world. We're going to look at 3 of the more major ones in the United States. So first we have the Earth Haven Eco-Village, which has only 55 people spread across 229 acres. They are an off-the-grid community, however they do not have an independent food production as Almere does, and fuel use is allowed, however it is restricted. The Dancing Rabbit Eco-Village, which is in northeastern Missouri, has 61 people in 280 acres. They are not off the grid and they do not have an independent food production. However, they do produce some of their own energy and some of their own food. And fuel use, like the Earth Haven Eco-Village, is restricted. Next is the Eco-Village at Ithaca in Ithaca, New York. This has 220 people, so it's larger than the previous 2. At 175 acres. They are, again, not off the grid and they do not have an independent food production. However, again, they produce some of their energy and some of their food as well. And fuel use is fully allowed in this community. So clearly the Almere Eco-Village is at the next stage of eco-villages, as it is both off the grid and it has an independent food production and they use no fuel as well.
Now to go over some of the waste to energy technology that will be implemented in the village. As previously mentioned, there will be a need to meet the electricity demand of the village since the renewable energy systems might not be fully reliable. There's also a ban, as Logan had just said, on the use of fossil fuels in the village. What that means is that biofuel will become the fuel of choice. So for the first design alternative, we're using a standard methane biodigester. A little bit of background. Methane is a naturally occurring greenhouse gas that can be used in everyday households, and biodigesters provide a source of renewable gas which is favorable to those fossil alternatives. Manure, food waste, and other organic waste are inputs to the system, and it's an anaerobic, which means it's an oxygen-free composting system where microorganisms break down organic matter and create the methane and carbon dioxide that gets stored within the biodigester. Biodigesters therefore create fuel by upcycling the waste from the village. The costs, while a simple plant can be obtained for $3,500 per kilowatt hour, depending on the electricity needs of the town, the municipal food waste plant can cost $19,000 per kilowatt hour. The construction elements necessary for a biodigester are rubber sealing components, rubber cement, resin, and tubes. Some of the limitations for this alternative are that it's time consuming and requires a high amount of land use. Design alternative 2 is very similar to design alternative 1. It's sort of the low budget version, and it's an earth pit plant. A little bit of background. These are simple and easy to install, and they're useful on a small scale. They also only cost a fraction of what other biodigester designs cost, which makes them economically desirable. So for the construction, it's an underground pit lined with a thin layer of cement, and then there's a weighted dome on top to achieve the desired gas pressure. It also has an automatic overflow point. Some of the limitations of this alternative are that it has a short useful life. It also needs to be in impermeable soil types, and it must be above the water table, which is an issue at this site since it is below the sea level. Moving on to a comparison of the two alternatives. First, we're going to discuss some of the social issues. So for the methane biodigester, biogas can contain some impurities, which means that the biofuel can corrode metal parts of the engines. It's also time consuming, between 30 and 60 minutes a day to ensure efficient operation is necessary. And if ran inefficiently, it can cause an odor issue in the village. So the unhealthy methanogens result in exhaust with foul organic acids. For the earth pit plant, there's potential seepage issues if not lined correctly, which will result in soil and water infiltration and contamination. It's also a newly established method with limited historical data to help predict and avoid the potential issues. The slurry outlet, if not monitored properly, can result in damages. So the hydrogen sulfide is extremely poisonous, and if it comes in contact with the human body, it can cause nerve damage or death. So that will need to be considered as well.
Moving on to some economic issues with our two design alternatives. So with methane biodigesters, there are few technology advancements. So there's no technology to simplify the process to make it low cost. And along with the financial issues, it actually requires a high initial investment for products like the tank, as the average biodigester costs around $1.5 million. And a lot of these eco-villages don't have access to credit to fund these projects. And it also requires high land use. So because the eco-village is tight on space, this might be a factor that you guys need to consider. Along with looking at the second design alternative, the earth pit plant, it has a short lifespan, so it needs to be replaced frequently, causing it to end up being maybe more of a financial burden. And also with increased costs, if the gas holder is made out of metal instead of plastic sheeting, the price does increase. And finally, with special sealing measures for gas holders are necessary, which then also can increase the cost. The final factor that we looked at for the two design alternatives was the global issues. So with the methane biodigester, there's a lack of technical capacity, so there's a limited number of experts, and if it's implemented into the eco-village, these people who need training and education on the construction, operations, and maintenance of these biodigesters. And also an issue is with the land and livestock requirements. So there might be an inefficient number of animals living in the village that need to produce enough manure to operate this biodigester, and looking forward for the lack of support from the government agencies involved in biogas promotion. So there is no policy to provide incentives such as taxation released to attract investment in this new technology. And then looking at the earth plant global issues, one of them is that it is only suitable for impermeable soil types, for example, clay soil with 40% clay. And having large amounts of impermeable surfaces tend to generate large amounts of runoff, which needs to be considered. And then also, again, with land requirement, it has to be located above groundwater tables. And this operation, only few people know about this type of system, so maybe you need to focus on different operations and maintenance issues. So now we're going to compare the two design alternatives, and the first one is the methane biodigester with the second one being the earth pit plant. And overall, the methane biodigester tends to be relatively expensive, but it does have a better quality and is more durable. And because it's also above ground, it's better for the Netherlands location, while the earth pit plant is cheap, but again, you would have to replace that more frequently, and it needs groundwater and also certain soil stability in order to have this function properly. So our overall recommendation is to work with the methane biodigester because of its long lifespan, and even though it's expensive, it's overall will be less expensive because of its durability and quality.
So looking at the sustainability of our engineering alternatives, both the methane biodigester as well as the earth pit plant produce a renewable energy resource that can be used for the village. This can help offset some of the uncertainties regarding the availability of renewable energy resources in this location. They additionally help to recycle some of the waste produced by the village in a sustainable way. The compost produced from the methane biodigester as well as the earth pit plant are beneficial for the soil and can help aid in farming, thereby helping the village meet its food requirement needs. And both these alternatives will help save the village money in terms of overall energy costs relating to not having to purchase energy. Moving on to the sustainability of eco-villages as a whole, in terms of environmental sustainability, the entire eco-village model is designed to be entirely environmentally sustainable. The village will have a minimal environmental footprint and produce very little pollution. They expect to meet all of their energy requirements with renewable energy generation, and the model of the village maximizes recycling. In terms of social sustainability, the lifestyle and resource sharing of the community encourages community involvement and teamwork amongst the households. For economic sustainability, on-site energy generation and on-site food and water supply will eliminate the costs associated with purchasing these. As for the uncertainties regarding the Almere Eco-Village, we are currently uncertain of the exact amount of precipitation that the village will expect to receive, and this could impact the farming potential or the available drinking water throughout the village. We are uncertain as to how effective our renewable energy systems will be at this location. We don't know the amount of available solar or wind power, and the exact amount of waste that can be used in biogas production and use is uncertain as well. Additionally, we don't quite know if there will be enough space to meet the needs of the village. As mentioned before, the village will sit on a 60-acre footprint with around 200 homes, leaving about 1/3 of an acre per home if the entire 60 acres is just filled with housing. But we do have to account for the space requirements for farming, raising livestock, and waste management. I'll now recap some of the features affecting the waste generation and its management in the Almere Eco-Village. We expect a relatively low waste generation from this eco-village, given the particular set of guidelines that the residents have to follow. Given that all food will be grown or raised on site and rainwater can be collected for the village's water needs, most of the waste generated by residents in the village will be able to be used for energy production. Our recommended above-ground methane digester will help dispose of the majority of this waste generated by the community, as well as help with energy production. This energy production can help subsidize the uncertainty of the energy seen with the renewable energy sources. Additionally, we expect minimal waste due to construction of buildings in the village. All building materials must either be recycled materials like recycled lumber or locally sourced lumber. Should the village produce more waste than anticipated, there are two methods that could be implemented to help manage it. Combustion for additional energy production could help eliminate excess waste and also generate more energy for the village. This would also eliminate the space requirements for a landfill. Additionally, the village could contract out a company to ship waste to a different landfill. To conclude, we recommend moving forward with the methane digester engineering alternative that we recommended. This will help with our waste elimination and energy production in the village. Our group viewed this opportunity to learn about the Almere Eco-Village as an exciting and enriching opportunity, and we really enjoyed working with other disciplines of engineering. The teamwork aspect of this project was really beneficial to all of us. So we'd like to thank Jim Park for the opportunity to work on this project and for a great semester.